In the early 1980s, the remote landscapes of Central Oregon became the unlikely stage for one of the most extraordinary and controversial chapters in American history, the rise and fall of Rajneeshpuram. This intentional community, founded by followers of the Indian spiritual leader Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, later known as Osho, transformed a vast, arid ranch into a bustling utopia that housed thousands of devotees. What began as a quest for spiritual enlightenment and communal living quickly escalated into a clash of ideologies, legal battles, and criminal activities, culminating in the largest bioterror attack on U.S. soil at the time. The purpose of this research is to provide a comprehensive examination of how a religious group, often labeled a cult, managed to establish political control over a small American town, Antelope, Oregon, and the subsequent events that led to its dramatic dissolution. By drawing on verified historical records, court documents, and scholarly analyses, this document explores the interplay between religious freedom, community rights, and the rule of law in a democratic society. The scope encompasses the period from the late 1970s, when tensions in India prompted the relocation, through the 1980s events in Oregon, and extends to the legacy and current status of the site as of 2025. The foundations of Rajneeshpuram trace back to the charismatic teachings of Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, born Chandra Mohan Jain in 1931 in Kuchewada, India. Rajneesh, who adopted the title Acharya and later Bhagwan, was a philosophy professor turned spiritual guru, blending Eastern mysticism with Western psychotherapy. His philosophy emphasized dynamic meditation, a vigorous practice involving breathing, movement, and emotional release to achieve enlightenment, attracting a global following in the 1970s. By the late 1970s, his ashram in Pune, India had grown significantly, but it faced mounting scrutiny from Indian authorities over tax issues, visa violations, and public controversies surrounding the group's unconventional practices, including free love and confrontational therapy sessions. Seeking a new haven, Rajneesh and his inner circle, led by his secretary, Ma Anand Sheela, born Sheela Ambalal Patel in 1949, Varvada, India, turned their sights to the United States. Sheela, a fierce and ambitious administrator who had joined the movement in the early 1970s, played a crucial role in orchestrating the relocation. In May 1981, Rajneesh arrived in the U.S. on a medical tourist visa, ostensibly for treatment of a back condition, though this was later contested as part of an immigration fraud scheme. That same year, the group purchased the 64,281-acre Big Muddy Ranch in Wasco County, Oregon for $5.75 million, renaming it Rancho Rajneesh, and later incorporating it as Rajneeshpuram. The choice of Oregon was strategic. The vast, isolated land allowed for self-sufficiency, and U.S. laws on religious freedom provided a protective framework. Initially presented as an agricultural cooperative to comply with zoning laws, the ranch rapidly evolved into a sophisticated city. Followers, known as sannyasins and identifiable by their red or orange attire, flocked from around the world, swelling the population to around 7,000 at its peak in 1984. They built housing units, a public transportation system, an airstrip capable of handling private jets, including Rajneesh's fleet of Rolls-Royces, and utilities like water and sewage systems. The community operated as a theocracy, with Rajneesh providing spiritual guidance while Sheela managed daily affairs with an iron fist. However, this rapid development sparked immediate friction with the neighboring town of Antelope, a quiet, rural community of about 40 to 60 residents, primarily conservative ranchers. The influx of sannyasins, with their unconventional lifestyles and aggressive expansion, clashed with local values. In 1982, to secure more control, Rajneeshis began relocating to Antelope, purchasing properties and registering to vote. This demographic shift allowed them to gain a majority on the town council, thwarting a local effort to disincorporate Antelope and incorporating Rajneeshpuram as a city despite land use disputes. By 1983, tensions escalated. Oregon state officials sued over alleged violations of land use laws, arguing that the transformation of farmland into an urban center was illegal. In response, the Rajneeshis renamed Antelope to Rajneesh via a referendum, a symbolic act that deepened local resentment. A bombing at a Rajneesh hotel in Portland that year, perpetrated by an unrelated Islamist group, heightened paranoia within the commune, leading to the formation of an armed security force. These early years set the stage for the more sinister developments that would follow, as the group's pursuit of autonomy blurred lines between devotion and desperation. This chapter illustrates how Rajneeshpuram's establishment was both a triumph of communal vision and the harbinger of conflict. The sannyasins' ingenuity in building a self-sustained haven from barren land showcased human potential, yet it sowed seeds of division with outsiders who viewed the influx as an invasion. As the community grew, so did the pressures that would push its leaders toward extreme measures to protect their utopia.
As Rajneeshpuram solidified its presence, the initial frictions with local authorities and residents evolved into outright confrontations, driven by the group's ambitious political maneuvers and increasingly desperate tactics. Central to this escalation was Ma Anand Sheela, whose leadership style, marked by confrontation and ruthlessness, fueled the commune's aggressive expansion. By 1984, with Wasco County elections looming, the Rajneeshis sought to influence outcomes to ease land use restrictions and secure their city's legitimacy. One audacious scheme was the Share a Home program, where the group bussed in thousands of homeless individuals from across the U.S., offering them shelter in exchange for registering to vote. This voter importation effort aimed to sway the county commission, but was halted by state-imposed residency requirements and legal challenges. Frustrated, Sheela and her inner circle turned to more covert and illegal methods. The pinnacle of these efforts was the 1984 bioterror attack in the Dalles, the county seat. In a bid to suppress voter turnout among non-Rajneeshis, cult members contaminated salad bars at 10 local restaurants with Salmonella typhimurium, sickening 751 people and hospitalizing 45. This incident, orchestrated by Sheela and nurse Ma Anand Puja, remains the largest bioterror event in U.S. history. The bacteria, cultured in a secret lab on the ranch, was sprinkled on food items, causing widespread illness, but no fatalities. Initially misattributed to poor hygiene, the attack's true nature emerged during later investigations. Compounding this were assassination plots targeting key opponents, including Oregon Attorney General David B. Frohnmeyer and U.S. Attorney Charles H. Turner, who were investigating the group's activities. FBI files later revealed plans involving poisons and firearms, though none were executed successfully. Additionally, in January 1985, arson destroyed records at the Wasco County Planning Office to erase evidence of land use violations. Wiretapping of phones, including Rajneesh's own, and immigration fraud, such as sham marriages to secure U.S. residency, further entangled the leadership in criminality. Rajneesh himself maintained a vow of silence from 1981 to 1984, communicating through Sheela, which allowed him plausible deniability. However, in September 1985, as pressures mounted, Sheela and several aides fled the country. Rajneesh then publicly accused her of the crimes, prompting federal and state probes that uncovered the full extent of the operations. These events underscore the transformation of Rajneeshpuram from a spiritual retreat to a fortified enclave willing to subvert laws for survival. The conflicts with locals, amplified by media coverage, painted the group as invaders, while the Rajneeshis countered with claims of religious persecution. Scholarly works such as Wynne McCormick's The Rajneesh Chronicles 2010 detail how internal power dynamics, particularly Sheela's authoritarian control, exacerbated external hostilities. The Netflix documentary Wild Wild Country 2018, while not a primary source, has revived public interest, drawing from archival footage to illustrate the era's tensions. In exploring these escalations, it becomes evident that the pursuit of an ideal community led to moral compromises, where ends justified increasingly perilous means. This chapter reveals the human elements, ambition, fear, and loyalty, that propelled the group toward its undoing. The unraveling of Rajneeshpuram began in earnest in October 1985, when federal investigations exposed a web of crimes, leading to Rajneesh's arrest on immigration charges while attempting to flee the country. He pleaded guilty to immigration fraud, paid a $400,000 fine, and was deported to India, where he died in 1990 from heart failure. Sheila, extradited from Germany, faced multiple convictions. In federal court, she received sentences for wiretapping, immigration fraud, and the bioterror attack. In state court, for attempted murder and arson. She served 29 months of a 20-year sentence before being released and deported to Switzerland. Other key figures, like Pooja, were similarly convicted. By 1986, the community had disbanded, leaving Rajneeshpuram bankrupt and vacant. Oregon courts upheld its incorporation in 1987, but the site was sold at auction in 1988 for $4.5 million. Repurchased in 1991 and donated in 1996 to Young Life, a Christian youth organization, it now operates as Washington Family Ranch, a camp hosting thousands annually, with no remnants of its Rajneesh past beyond subtle infrastructure. Antelope reverted to its original name in 1985, though scars from the era linger in local memory. Controversies surrounding Rajneeshpuram persist. Land use disputes centered on whether the city violated Oregon's strict planning laws, with a federal judge ruling in 1985 that it breached church-state separation, though state courts disagreed. Locals accused the group of intimidation, while sannyasins claimed bigotry. Alternate theories, such as unverified smuggling rumors, lack substantiation, but some former members view the community as innovative rather than coercive. The legacy of Rajneeshpuram is profound. It prompted reforms in voter registration and land use enforcement, and heightened awareness of cult dynamics and bioterror risks. Osho's teachings continue through global centers, decoupled from the Oregon scandals. Recent reflections, including the 40th anniversary in 2025, emphasize personal stories of those affected, like children raised in the commune. In final analysis, based on verified data, Rajneeshpuram exemplifies the perils of blending spirituality with political ambition. The takeover of Antelope via democratic means devolved into crimes like bioterrorism, leading to judicial resolutions. Its collapse underscores the fragility of utopian experiments and the importance of balancing religious liberties with societal protections. Today, the site's peaceful repurposing as a youth camp symbolizes redemption, highlighting America's capacity for renewal amid controversy.